Cape Town, South Africa. If you've been around the digital nomad / online entrepreneur scene for long enough, you would have for sure heard of Cape Town. Personally, it's been on my list for years, but given its distant location on the very southwestern tip of the African continent, it's been a location I've been putting off for quite some time. Until, of course, I planned a trip to Brazil and noticed that it was kind of on the way from Bali to Rio. So I decided to take a slight detour, pop into Cape Town, and spend a month discovering what all the hype is really about in Cape Town, South Africa. Okay, so you've likely seen the images. Cape Town, with its unique geography and stunning sunsets, looks like something out of a postcard. But what is the reality on the ground as a digital nomad? The first thing that's important to note when planning a trip to Cape Town is the time of year. From what I've heard, Cape Town is a very seasonal destination. Come here in winter and you should expect to find a cold and wet environment. It seems that everyone, at least everyone I've spoken to, comes during the summer months of the year. I believe this is a huge part of the reason why a lot of Europeans like to spend their winters down here, because it's obviously the complete opposite season on the other side in Africa. Regardless of whether the climate is a huge deal for you or not, it's best to come to Cape Town during this time if you want to get the most out of your digital nomad experience. Most expats and digital nomads I speak to here point to the lower cost of living, the beautiful nature, and the bustling schedule of summer activities. For Europeans especially, the time zone is the same as Europe but has an opposite season, and is somewhere where your euros, pounds, or dollars go a lot further. So let's talk a little bit about the cost of living. In general, I think you'll find Cape Town to be great value for money. The standard for most things is what I'm used to back in Australia, yet the price you'll pay compared to Australia, for instance, is probably around 30 to 50% less. I felt this most notably when it comes to coffee and alcohol, which makes it a little cheaper to work from cafes and get drunk at bars and clubs. Not that I let myself go too much. Come on, guys, I'm a little too old for that now. A couple of things to note when it comes to the costs in Cape Town. You should keep in mind that number one, South Africa is the most unequal country in the world, and number two, the demand for scarce resources like accommodation surges during the summer months. If you want to spend $1,000 a night on a hotel in Cape Town, there are plenty of places that you can do that. So to experience the upper ranges of quality in Cape Town, it's not going to be cheap necessarily, but it's almost certainly going to be better value for money than the equivalent quality in places like Britain, Germany, and the Netherlands, for example. As someone currently living in Southeast Asia, I was quite surprised coming to Cape Town and having to pay around $2,000 to stay in this pretty basic studio apartment in Temborskloof. I believe this is due to a few different factors. Number one, Cape Town's popularity. Number two, the fact that it's not a year-round destination. And number three, that there's not a ton of safe neighborhoods to choose from. So you're essentially paying for quality, location, and security. On that topic, when I asked my friend in Cape Town on where to stay, he said either Gardens or Sea Point, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and recommend you stay somewhere along the Atlantic seaboard, basically anywhere from V&A Waterfront to Camps Bay. In my opinion, the seafront is where Cape Town truly shines, with the mountains on one side and the ocean on the other. These neighborhoods would have to be Cape Town's most desirable. Staying in the Gardens Temborskloof area was fine, but in my opinion, there's nothing special to be seen around here. That being said, my street of Kloofnek here is just one street over from Kloof Street, which is home to a bunch of trendy bars and restaurants. As for the CBD area, I wouldn't recommend it. There are some streets that are safe there, but most of the CBD is unsafe to walk, at least at night. In fact, let's talk about safety right now. Maybe it's not such a problem if you only hang out in the super upper class neighborhoods of the city, but much of the city, I've been told, is too dangerous to walk around in at night. Maybe this is not the case for Kloof Street specifically when the nightlife is pumping and there's people around, but in the Gardens Temborskloof area, I've been told that I shouldn't be walking around at night in streets where there's no other people. Obviously, if you're smart about things and follow the unwritten safety rules of the city, you should be fine, but the inconvenience of always having to use Uber at night was a little annoying for me. Which brings me to transportation. For the most part, getting around Cape Town is easy. Provided you don't need to go east of the CBD, you can walk the entire city in just a matter of hours. Obviously, you generally don't want to be walking at night, but in broad daylight, I think walking is a good way to get around. For longer distances, most digital nomads choose Uber, which is very inexpensive in terms of euros, pounds, and dollars. Unless it's surging or you're heading out to the eastern part of the city, around 250 Rand is the max you'll ever need to pay, which is under 15 US dollars. Most of my trips, however, have been under 100 Rand or roughly 5 USD. Another underrated transport option are the buses provided by My City. I got my City transport card from the Gardens bus stop, and then I was able to tap on and off on the local buses. Super easy. In fact, South Africa is luckily one of those countries that makes it easy for tourists to get connected. Every time I arrive in a brand new country, I need to quickly figure out where am I getting cash, how do I get a SIM card, and how do I get to my hotel or Airbnb. Luckily in Cape Town, this is pretty simple. I was able to pick up a travel adapter, get a SIM card, take out cash from the ATM, and book an Uber all from the airport without being scammed. This cannot be said for every country I travel to, so I definitely appreciate South Africa for making this easy for tourists. All right, so you got a stack of Rand, a SIM card, and you're ready to get your week started. Where should you go to get some work done? Well, you'll be pleased to know that Cape Town is a very remote worker-friendly city. There is clearly a culture here where it's okay to work from cafes, and there are 2 coffee chains where this is most true: Bootlegger and Shift Espresso. I went to about 4 different Bootlegger locations and 2 Shift Espresso locations, and all of them have working Wi-Fi and are totally fine with you taking out your laptop. I know a few people here that love working from cafes, but if you're anything like me and co-working's your thing, this has been my experience. All right, so day 1 in Cape Town, I'm looking for a co-working space. I find myself at the Cape Quarter location of Neighborhood, and no joke, the internet was so terrible, it was even unusable. As I go up to the counter to tell the staff, a guy overhears me talking about the unstable internet and tells me, "Welcome to South Africa." I thought to myself, screw it, I'll just head to the WeWork and I'll sign up there. It's WeWork, right? Super reliable, right? So after Neighborhood's disappointing Wi-Fi speeds, I came here to the always reliable WeWork, or usually reliable WeWork. They are so booked out that I can't even book a hot desk until next Thursday, which is crazy to me. I've never had that problem with WeWorks anywhere in the world. The lady at the front desk's exact words were, "The whole of the Northern Hemisphere is here right now." All right, so not off to a great start in Cape Town, so I get a little bit desperate and I take a day pass to Spaces in the CBD, which thankfully had working internet, but shitty ergonomics and a dated interior. Luckily, my co-working woes would alleviate as I found another Neighborhood location on Harrington Street with an inspiring vibe, but an annoyingly inconsistent range of ergonomics. I decided to head back to WeWork and agree to wait a week to book a hot desk, and in the meantime, I worked out of a co-working space called Chips, which had the best ergonomics and internet so far. It just wasn't easy to do day passes there, as I had to email in advance. It was more of a permanent desk style co-working space, not really a digital nomad vibe. After enough time waiting, I finally got into my preferred co-working space of WeWork, which was by no means the best WeWork I've ever been to, but the quality was enough for me to work productively. The other options I checked out were the 2 locations of Workshop 17 on Kloof Street and V&A Waterfront, and the 3rd location of Neighborhood on Bree Street. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that there's this new space that opened up by Ubuntu. That one is in the Gardens Tamborskloof area, so pretty close to where I was staying. Ubuntu is a community of digital nomads started by Emily, but has now become a co-working space as well, so you can check that one out if you're in the area as well. Overall, I got the sense that Cape Town's co-working scene is not adequately set up for the amount of nomads who flood the city during the peak season. I think it's safe to say that Cape Town is not famous for its co-working scene. So what is Cape Town famous for? I think I know the answer. As someone who's been to many places around the world, I can say that Cape Town has one thing that other cities do not, and that is the fact that Cape Town is not just close to a mountain range, it has a mountain range actually going through it. I'm currently on the porch at my Airbnb here in the Gardens Tamborskloof area, and as you can see, if I stand up and look over here, you can see Table Mountain in the background, and if I turn my direction over here, you
You can see Lion's Head right there. So here in this area, we're literally between two mountains.
The city's geography means that you're in for a treat for incredible views and breathtaking sunsets, which occur as late as 8 p.m. in the summertime. These views provide the backdrop for a long list of events and activities that happen during the summer season. If you come to Cape Town during the summer, you're going to notice it. Every weekend there is some sort of festival, every week some sort of meetup group on the beach or in the mountains. And these meetups aren't just for digital nomads, obviously. In fact, the general vibe at all of these groups is simply predominantly local white South Africans and internationals from mainly Europe. To rattle off some of the options I tried here in Cape Town during my month here, I tried running groups like Running Late Club and Run for Coffee. I did trail running with Run TNT, yoga with Show Up and Flow, and beach volleyball with Friends Who Volley. These groups usually run weekly and are open to all the public and are free, if not quite cheap, to join. In addition to these groups, you have local cultural and sporting events. For me, this was watching the SA20 at Newlands Cricket Stadium, the United Rugby Championship at the DHL Stadium, and Matthew Mole at the Kirstenbosch National Botanical Gardens. There's also this event called First Thursdays, occurring on the first Thursday of December, January, and February, where the art galleries of the CBD open up at night and it turns into a big party. In fact, there are plenty of parties going on, too much to really count, but if you like Afro and Afro house music, I think you're going to enjoy the nightlife scene here in Cape Town. One thing that's important to me and probably important to a lot of you guys is the community aspect of Cape Town. And for me, I found my sense of community in Cape Town amongst a group of nomads called the Work Wanderers, organized by Andrea Smith, who's both a local and a digital nomad.
All right, we're here at this beach meetup that Andrea has planned. This is the girl to speak to if you're coming to Cape Town. She puts on all the best digital nomad community events. Isn't that right, Nadia?
Yeah.
She knows how to.
The best.
There are a lot of WhatsApp chats you can join in Cape Town, but hers is a good one to start with. And if you're here during March, you can go to her week-long event called Nomad Week. That's all I'll say on that one. If you're looking to meet other digital nomads on your trip to Cape Town, WhatsApp is the way to go. Wow, we've covered a lot already and we still haven't even touched on gyms and fitness. The best gym in Cape Town is definitely Virgin Active in the Silo district, but at a price tag of 8,000 Rand for a single month, I decided to pass. Virgin Active does have other locations like this one at Wembley Square, but no matter which branch you go to, they'll try and get you on a year membership, and if they can't, charge you a big markup to do month to month. It's not very compatible with a digital nomad lifestyle. But that's all good. Cape Town is such a great city for fitness if you're into working out in the outdoors with sunshine and beautiful nature to take advantage of. Since living in Bali, of course, I'm now a paddle player, so in my first week I hit up Africa Paddle in Greenpoint for the men's Americano tournament. But also coming from Bali, I was still looking for a fitness option in Cape Town that felt a bit premium, and while on the hike up to Kloof Corner, the hike leader told me about this yoga studio called One Flow with a sauna and a cold plunge. And the best thing is that they have flexible packages for digital nomads. That being said, I did try out a few other gyms that offer day passes. In the Gardens area, you've got My Gym, which is on the cheaper end, but with plenty of weights, which is going to be good for bodybuilders, whereas Horizon in Sea Point was cleaner and more expensive, but with less equipment. The dumbbells, for instance, only go up to 35 kilograms. Like I mentioned on my Cape Town Q&A livestream, Cape Town is such a great city to work out in the outdoors, so I wasn't too worried about forcing myself to go inside a gym in a city where you can go on a run, hike, or play sports every day out in the sun. Alright, so to bring this all together, if I could describe Cape Town in one sentence, it would either be the Los Angeles of Africa or a summer playground for Europeans. The digital nomad community here is predominantly European, and I think it makes sense if you think about it. With a single direct flight from London, Paris, Amsterdam, Munich, Zurich, and Frankfurt, Europeans can escape winter and convert their euros or pounds into South African Rand with zero jet lag, as the time zone is just 1 hour or 2 ahead. For me personally, I already come from a beautiful country that resembles a lot of what I see in Cape Town, so I found it unsurprising that I did not meet a single other digital nomad from Australia when I was here. For me, the time zone difference is a pain in the ass, and the safety concerns here are something I don't have to deal with when I'm back at home. That being said, it's definitely less expensive here. In fact, I met 1 or 2 people here who moved predominantly for that reason. It's also got an incredible work from cafe culture. That's something we are definitely lacking in Australia. But at the end of the day, it's Cape Town's unique geography and views like these that I think set it apart from all other cities. Looking at sunsets like these, it's no wonder that many foreigners have come and fallen in love with Cape Town, South Africa. All right, guys, so that's my review on Cape Town. There's a bunch of other miscellaneous things on my list to cover, like I was going to talk about the plugs situation, the racial inequality, the extreme UV levels, and load shedding, which, by the way, is not an issue at the moment, but I'll leave it there. And if you want to know about these things, just leave a comment below this video. And of course, if you're interested in living as a digital nomad, but you don't have your remote work career sorted just yet, I personally do something called Shopify theme development. And if you'd like to learn more about it, you can simply click the first link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.